Hey, this is Schuyler from themixingprocess.com, and in today's video, I want to clarify some terms that you will most likely hear in live audio production. These terms are groups, auxes, and matrices. And these can get a little bit confusing because they are all ways of grouping and processing and routing audio, but they all do it in a little bit different ways. And so it can get really confusing knowing which thing to use in what application and how to use it correctly. So I'm going to walk through those three terms and explain what they are and then give you examples of where you could use them in your application. So let's start with a group. A group is a combination of individual channels that can be processed together before being sent to the main left, right, or to an aux. So a group is basically just like a folder on a computer. You know how you can use a folder to, categorize different things and organize things, but you can also use it in audio to process those channels together. So a great example of this is a drum kit. If you've got a drum kit with maybe 10 to 15 different mics or channels in it, you don't necessarily always want to process all those channels individually. That's a lot of channels, and the reality is a drum set is one instrument. It does have a bunch of individual components, but you often want to process all those channels together because they're one instrument. So, for example, you could have one drum group or drum bus and have all of those channels in it. Another common way to do this on a drum kit is to use subgroups as well. So you can have a main drum bus running into that drum bus. You can have two sub buses and separate the channels out even further. So you can separate it out from, kick, snare, toms in one subgroup, and then cymbals and hi-hat in another subgroup, and then those subgroups then feed the main drum bus. And then you can process even those subgroups separately as well. So groups are just a way of combining channels and processing them together. And that's really helpful, especially in the case of drums, or you can even group and process vocals together, background vocals. It's a very popular way of processing channels. Second, we have auxes. So an aux, or an auxiliary output, is a way to create a completely separate mix from the main left-right mix. So an application for this would be if you have a monitor on stage for the musicians on stage, you're going to use an aux to run to that monitor because it's going to be a completely separate mix from your main PA mix. They're not going to be the same. They need different levels and different things like that. And so you're going to need two separate mixes for that. So that's where you would use an aux. It's a completely separate mix going to another application. Now, a matrix is a mix of mixes, if that makes sense. So what do I mean by that? So it can include auxes, or it can include groups, or even other matrices in it. So an example of where you would use a matrix would be if you were trying to set up a broadcast mix. You took your entire mix, your left-right mix, and used a matrix, which is a copy of that left-right mix, and sent it out to your broadcast area. So that would be something you could use a matrix for. You could also use it is a combination of mixes. So if I wanted to send my left-right mix in addition to an aux, I could combine those into a matrix and then send that matrix out to another application. So it is a mix of other mixes or other matrices or groups or auxes. So that's kind of the difference between them. They're all involved in processing audio and routing audio in different ways, but they all work a little bit different. So it's important to understand how they differ and then where to use each one in their own application. So hopefully that was helpful for you. If you're new to this audio world, I want to invite you over to my website, themixingprocess.com, because there I have a guide that I created specifically for new mixers. It's called the 7-step mix, and it'll walk you through setting your gain structure, EQs, compression, balancing, fader, layers and volume and different things like that. It'll help walk you through that, give you a systematic process in your mixing to come up with a more consistent, simplified, quicker result. So go over to my website, themixingprocess.com. I think it'll be really helpful for you if you're beginning to learn all of these different concepts. And as for now, hope this video was helpful for you. Go check out my website, themixingprocess.com, and we will see you next time.